Welcome to the Wild West. This is the War Pony podcast, where we are your trading post for all upcoming productions, connections, and tricks of the trade. I'm your host, Cassidy Honey, bringing West Texas to you. I'm a wife, mom, businesswoman, holistic equine therapist, and team roper. Relax and watch the sunset as we highlight events, consult on business, share knowledge of the industry, and talk to the legends and rising stars of the community. Join the tribe and make War Pony your one-stop shop for all things West Texas. Anyways, all right, guys. Well, welcome to the War Pony podcast. I'm your host, Cassidy Honey. Today I have Nicole Roberts is co-hosting with me, and we're interviewing Dave with the Cowboys Helping Cowboys. So y'all want to say hi?
Howdy, everyone.
Hello. All right, guys. Well, we have Dave. Dave, you want to go ahead and introduce yourself? Kind of tell everyone a little about who you are and your background with rodeo.
Sure. My name is Dave Samsel, former professional bull rider. I've made the PBR finals 6 times, made the NFR in 2007, and I was a world champion bull rider in 2014 for the Pro Rough Stock Series.
Neat. And Nicole, you're actually the one that contacted me about setting this whole thing up. So if you want to share your part of setting this whole thing up, Nicole set this up. I'm just here, guys.
So I've been friends with Dave I
think you're friends with
days.
Everybody.
25 years. 25 years.
Yes. So
Not to show our age on that.
definitely. So with coming from the Stephenville area and being out here in West Texas, we just met back up, and he was telling me about his foundation, Cowboys Helping Cowboys, and brought our friendship back together. And so that's kind of where we're at today.
And what is Cowboys Helping Cowboys?
So it's a charity, pardon me, it's a charity that I founded. It started as just a group of guys getting together to play golf. And we decided, hey, we can raise some money with all these rodeo celebrities that are coming and just hanging out.
Yeah.
And we started donating to what was the Resist All Relief Fund back then. And we was donating pretty good funds. And I thought, well.
And that was an organization to kind of help injured cowboys at the time.
Guys, yes, ma'am.
Professional athletes.
Right. Professional rodeo athletes. Well, there was a couple instances that I didn't care for the way the organization was operating and the way that they donated the funds, not just our funds, but everybody's funds.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, well, I need to take this over and really start helping people. And I missed a few years back when I was rodeoing full time, but since 2012, we've hosted multiple events every year. And without putting pencil to pen, I think we've donated probably close to $500,000 since 2012. So
that's really cool.
It's been bless you. One of the things
you're listening,
one of the things that's unique about our organization is all of our funds, we don't donate a little to a lot of people. We like to donate major amounts to a few amount of people,
Sure.
25, 30,000 to really help keep the lights on during their recovery. Or
how do you pick those people that do get the benefits?
Great question. I do, of course, being a 501c nonprofit organization, we have to have board members. And I have my 3 board members, and then we have what I call my group of advisors that includes a lot of former rodeo guys, one of them being Donnie Gay, the 8-time world champion. And people are nominated and they call me, and if I think they fit the category, then I kind of send it out to my guys and I say, hey, we got 2 or 3 people. Who do you think?
So people apply actually for this program, essentially?
Most of the time it's people calling me, or they send me an article, or they send me a Facebook deal.
So you can nominate. So if I said, oh, Nicole has this injury, I could come to you and say, hey, like Nicole has this, I think she'd be a great candidate. And that puts Nicole on the map.
Absolutely. And then we gather a little information. And one of the things that's also unique about us is how fast we can help some people. This year, Kyle Charlie was a bareback rider at Fort Worth that had a real bad horse riding accident. Basically got his hand ripped off.
Oh my gosh.
The only thing that was holding his hand still, according to Tandy, the the doctor at the time.
Just in equine medicine.
Yeah, was basically his glove was taped on, and that's the only thing that was holding it on.
Oh my gosh.
And professional rodeo cowboy didn't have a lot of funds, and within about a week, 10 days, we had sent him a very substantial check. And talking with Kyle and Beverly Clint Corey's wife was kind of who nominated him and was doing a lot of work for us. Without some of them funds, like his family wouldn't have been able to join him, at the hospital, and he wouldn't have had the money to travel.
Well, a lot of these guys still have bills, right? Like the rodeo is their job. So they still have bills coming in the mail. Like they got to keep that light bill on.
Absolutely. You know, and he had a few bucking bulls and some livestock, and his mom, he was actually helping take care of her. She couldn't feed him. And so they had to hire somebody to take care of the livestock. So you think just because you're not rodeoing, the bills, they still keep coming.
That's right.
But yeah, so we was able to bypass all the red tape and, get a check in the mail. And that was something that was like Beverly was very proud that we was able to help so fast.
What drove you to start this organization?
Well, like I said, I rodeoed for 20 years, and I had my share of injuries. I was very, very fortunate through my career. It was nothing too serious, but I knew what it was like to be hurt and have bills coming in and not have much money in the bank. And, I seen the sacrifices I had to make to recover. And I said, I hope nobody else ever goes through that.
Yeah.
So it gave me a real good insight on what people are going through. So rodeo gave me a lot, mostly connections all over the world. And
it's a very tight family.
It is. It's very close. But, this is my way to give back to the sport that's gave me unimaginable opportunities and friends and family.
I like that. Nicole, how do you fit into this picture?
So with Dave and some of his functions that the charity ball and the golf tournament, I've volunteered with him.
You want to talk about the golf tournament and the charity ball?
Hey, I give her a reason to dress up.
Every girl likes that.
Yeah. So,
that is right up Nicole's alley.
Yeah.
You don't know Nicole, that is Nicole's alley.
Absolutely. So one thing that Dave does at the charity ball, that he elevates the whole attire of the event, that he puts a table out with ties to make sure that everybody knows this is a black tie event.
What are you saying? Cowboys don't really wear suit and ties? Like, what are we trying to get at here?
So the charity ball started, I believe, 4 years ago. Let's see.
Where is it held?
It's in Fort Worth.
Okay.
Most of our events are all in Fort Worth. That's
Sure.
where most of my connections are. So yeah, we've hosted it for 4 years now. But what inspired me was a dinner I go to every year up in Lubbock called the LEA Wild Game Dinner. It's Lubbock Executives Association. And you walk in there and it's 600 guys, and they have a table full of ties, and you can't get in without a tie. And I kind of laughed about it. And when I started the charity event, the story behind that is, when you look good, you feel good. And when you feel good, you spend money.
Yeah.
And at a fundraiser, obviously that's our goal. But so we started doing the table of ties. And every year there's at least two people that think, he's not serious. You ain't going to make me wear a tie. And we do. We'll strap it right on you. It may not match.
That's what you
and
need.
most of the guys that do it are my friends, But we've got Donnie Gay. He thought he didn't have to wear a tie because he was Donnie Gay. That didn't work. Cody Old, who was also one of our beneficiaries, 1 year, we strapped a tie on him, and Adam Carrillo. So yeah, most of the ties that went out have been my friends.
Yeah.
So, and very rarely do I get the ties back.
It's either they don't want to wear them, but they don't want to give them back.
Yeah, well, I think they have a drink and then they forget to give it back. But no, so many of my friends from all over the country are starting to come to the charity ball has kind of taken over as the big event. The golf tournament is a big 2-day
Are they ran simultaneously, or kind of how are those events lined out?
No, our charity ball is in February. It'll actually be on Valentine's Day in 2025, February 14th. And then the golf tournament's usually the first weekend in May.
Okay.
So we tried moving the charity ball to the fall so we could spread them out. And I think everything's just so busy.
It is. There's only so many weekends in a year, that's for sure.
We didn't have the turnout, so we postponed it to the February again. And it's just, it seems to work out. And with it being right on Valentine's Day, it gives guys kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Take your lady out for a nice formal dinner, red
Sweet
carpet.
little Valentine's date.
Yeah. And, you get to do some good while you're doing it.
Yes.
So
what are some goals you have for Cowboys, helping Cowboys in the future?
Well, I'd love to say one day that we raised $1 million.
Yeah.
That's a goal, but this year we had a little bit of a down year. I'm not going to lie, but with the economy, it's to be expected. We thought we'd have a down year during COVID, but some of our sponsors really stepped up, and we actually, I think, had more sponsors during COVID than we have now.
I feel like rodeo during COVID went wild. Because it was an outdoor sport for a majority of it, so it didn't really get shut down and regulated like the other ones. I know for the team roping, that's what I'm a team roper. So I know for the team roping, yeah, right. Says the rough stock rider. Okay. But they started doing all those at home qualifiers and all sorts of stuff. It really went a whole crazy direction. So I think, in the rodeo world, in my opinion, COVID was not too terrible. Vegas looked a little wanky and all that other stuff was a little crazy, but the season itself, I think it was alive. I think that was the only thing really alive in COVID, in my opinion, anyways.
Well, and to go further into that one, Texas was pretty much open. So our events were in Texas. And
the NFR that year was in Texas.
Right.
Yeah.
And golf with the golf tournaments, golf courses COVID ruined golf courses. And this new work from home stuff is ruining golf courses because where we used to pay about $40 a person to host a golf tournament. Now these golf courses, because they're so busy from all these work from home employees, that they're wanting to charge $100 or more. Well, it's hard to pass that buck onto your contestants or your participants, and it's just they're getting to the point where they're outpricing their tournaments because they have so much just regular business. So
your tournaments, they are more kind of contestant based, or how does that work? Because you mentioned contestants, so explain that to me.
I meant participants in the golf.
Okay.
Yeah. Rodeo Cowboys, we do have.
We don't golf.
Actually, you'd be surprised. You'd be really shocked.
I know. I'm just kidding.
They don't golf very well.
Yeah.
There you go.
You can only be good at so many things.
Right.
Right. God can't show everyone his favorites.
What was your first golf tournament? I found a visor as I was purging from a golf tournament that you had years ago.
Our first ever tournament was in 2002, and 2003 was probably when we did the visors. That's where it turned out, I think, into the No Bull golf tournament.
Why couldn't I keep that visor? I was like, I never.
Yeah. No bull. And the slogan was, "Do you have the balls?" So,
that's not a roughie. Let me know what is.
Well, it was a bunch of bull riders playing.
The shoe fits. You got to wear it.
Yeah. Back then, in the first couple of years, we did it in conjunction with the PBR that was in Weatherford.
Okay.
And the tournament used to be held.
So everyone was already in town, anyways.
Right. Just come in the day before the bull riding, and that's how it got. When you're rodeoing, especially in the PBR, you're gone every weekend.
Yeah.
And you don't get to enjoy these weekend activities. That's our work week.
Yeah.
And, like all my friends that didn't rodeo, they were out playing golf or going to football games. And I'm like, sorry, I got to go to North Carolina, or whatever. So that's how it got started. Hey, let's all come in a day early and just get to relax and go have fun and hit some golf balls. And people are like, you realize that there's some celebrities here, like rodeo celebrities, and you guys could make money. And I said, heck, let's put it to good use.
And you were like, well, why not?
Hey, anything for a good time. I'm about that.
I like it. So anybody can attend these events, right? These are like open invitation events. Like if you're listening, you guys can absolutely attend. How do we find the information on these events and how to contact you to get involved?
Real simple. Just look up Cowboys Helping Cowboys. We have a website, cowboyshelpingcowboys.com. We're on Facebook, Instagram, MyFace, whatever,
You're really trying to show your age here.
all those platforms.
I think we put MySpace and Facebook together. We got MyFace.
Yeah.
That's a new thing. Coming 2025, MyFace. I like it.
And to be honest, in 2022, I believe, 21 or 22, we had participants at the golf tournament from 13 different states.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it's huge.
We've had people
That's cool.
from...
And that's also in Fort Worth, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
We've had people from...
God forbid to be in Midland. No one wants to be in Midland.
Yeah. We've had people from Connecticut, Oregon, Florida, California.
Well, when these guys are coming in, like, I think that's something a lot of people don't realize. Like, when you go to your hometown rodeo, you're not seeing people from your hometown, like, rodeo. Like, it's...
Right.
They're all over. Like you were saying, oh, this weekend I'm going to go to North Carolina. Like it's just, right down the road. But that's what the rodeo life is.
Yeah. Yeah. We used to have when we was rodeoing, I rodeoed with Jim Sharp, and we had an 8-hour rule. If it was more than 8 hours driving, we flew. And now I look at it and I'm like, oh my God, it's 8 hours. I can't
drive that.
I've traveled so much. I'm like, oh my God, how do I fly if it's over 2 hours?
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about your career. So you mentioned you're in the PBR, you went to the NFR. Like, let's talk about what that looked like for you. When did you start riding bulls?
God, that was so long ago. It's back when you was a twink on your daddy's eye. No, I started riding bulls basically in 1995, and
I was a twinkle on my daddy's eye at that point.
I went to college at Kansas State University. I was originally born in Kansas, and I think because I was older, I'd have been 24 then, and I picked it up really quick. But I was raised on a ranch, and I was a state wrestler, and so I already kind of had all the athletic ability. But I picked it up real quick and went to a big bull riding the fall of '95, and I drove all the way from Kansas to Phoenix, Arizona by myself, and there was all these guys entered from Stephenville, Texas, and of course I knew the big name guys, the Tough Hedemans and the Jim Sharps and the other guys that I won't mention. And I was like, well, I want to see what's the big attraction in Stephenville.
Yeah, cowboy capital of the world.
Yeah, what is that? And I won some money, and I was feeling pretty flush, and I said, well, I'm not going to hurry home to that job that I got, that job.
We don't need that.
No, I'm a professional bull rider
cowboy.
now. I'm never going to be broke again. And I went down to Stephenville and met a few people, a great all-around cowboy that hardly anybody knows about. His name was Randall Thornton, and met him at Chick Elm's Rodeo and Boot Shop, and great shout out to them. Chick's one of my heroes. But I told him, yeah, I ride bulls, and he said, well, come on down, I'll enter with you. And I felt like I found home.
Yeah,
I was welcomed with open arms, like I grew up there, and I love Stephenville to death, and I got a lot of fond memories there. And shortly after that, I was playing pool with a guy at the bar a night or two after that, and he said, hey, you going to the Super Bowl party? And I said, man, I don't know anybody here, And he goes, well, my brothers are having a Super Bowl party. Come out. All right, well, who's that? He goes, oh, it's Adam and Gilbert Carrillo. And of course, I knew who they were,
And it's just a Super Bowl party.
Yeah, and
welcome to Stephenville.
It was Eddie Carrillo, it was their brother, and it was just like I walked in the door and everyone welcomed me, and I was just one of the guys, and so that's how I ended up in Stephenville, and So 20 years later, I retired from bull riding. And,
So before your retirement, though, so you did the PBR.
Yep.
And you went to the finals multiple times before you went to the NFR.
Yeah. Of course, I rodeoed a little bit in the beginning, then I concentrated on the PBR for 6 or 7 years.
And there's more money in the PBR than the NFR? Is there? I'm asking, like, kind of what is the difference? Like, I'm a team roper, remember? So I don't know.
Right. And it has evolved. Don't get me wrong. In the late 90s, early 2000, the PBR was the best of the best.
Okay. Because even at the NFR, you're competing on a world level. But I do remember watching the NFR, you're competing on a world level, but the PBR, like, you could be like, that guy's from Brazil. That guy's from all these other true countries. It's really cool. So it kind of gives you more of a dynamic, like a world competition.
Right. In the PBR, like I said, at that time, it really was the best of the best. I mean, some of them guys were still rodeoing a little bit, but to me, if you want to be the greatest, you got to go up against the greatest, Rodeo was, get in the truck and be gone for 4, 5, 6 months. And the PBR was, a different town every weekend, fly home and be around. And the sponsorships were bigger, and more, I'd say more easy to acquire at the time in the PBR because we were on television so much more than regular rodeo, before the Cowboy Channel and all this. So I had a very successful PBR career, and I love the PBR. I think it's maybe lost its luster right here the last few years with the team stuff and stuff. I don't even watch it anymore, to be honest. But so I got hurt and then I got cut, and I never really felt like I gave it a full shot rodeoing and trying to make the NFR. Well, here I was about 35 years old, and I was a former Bonanza champion, so I got invited to the Bonanza Extreme Bulls, which was just bull riding and stuff. And I was like, hey, this is a way for me to get my qualifications up, and I automatically get in and everything. So, of course, I thought I'm going to give it a shot,
Yeah.
And I was wanting to kind of take it down a notch, maybe not go so hard, maybe not go up against the
best of the best.
best of the best, and I think the rodeo in that 2006, 2005 and stuff, the bull riders were getting better. I
think each year it gets tougher in every event for sure.
And I get asked all the time, is the best bull riders in the PBR or the NFR? And I said, you take the top 5 in both, they're both going to excel. Top 5 PBR guys come to the NFR, they're gonna excel.
Yeah.
And vice versa. And Sage has proven that.
Yeah.
And a lot of the PBR guys like JB has come over, he made the NFR, and stuff like that. I mean, so the greats are gonna excel no matter where they're at. They're just concentrated in the PBR. But so then I went back and rodeo, and I had I broke my pelvis and a couple things, had some setbacks in 05 and 06, but I got my qualifications up. And so then in 07, when I was healthy, I just went to the big rodeos. And to be honest, making the NFR was the easiest thing in the world. I go and win or place at the big rodeos and go home for a couple of weeks and do it again. And
how many rodeos do you think you hit that year?
40 or 50, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's something I think is like neat for people to understand is when you say like, oh, I went to a couple, right? You think couple is like 3 or 4. No, it still took me 40 or 50 rodeos to still be able to make it. Like, that's the thing is, it's not even just a weekend thing. Like, these rodeo athletes are rodeoing Thursday through Sunday, Monday, whatever.
Yeah.
And I mean, they're kicking them in between and driving. Like, you got to hit a lot in a year to make it. So.
It's still a full-time job.
Yeah.
We'd leave in June and come home usually right after Labor Day. So, come home in September. So
how many rodeos were you kind of hitting? Like, what did your weekend look like rodeoing at that point?
you know, that 4th of July summer run, you're hitting about 3 rodeos a week.
How was that for your body?
You know, I like I said, I was in good enough shape. I didn't have a lot of injuries, and I held up pretty good. It seems like every year that I rodeoed, I'd get hurt in Greeley in June, and if I got hurt, I was going to have a good summer.
That was the tall tale.
Yeah, it was like, but back to what I was saying, in 07, making the NFR was just easy.
Yeah.
I drew the right kind of bulls, and I rode what I was supposed to ride. And then in 08, I think my riding percentage was better, but I just could not place. And you know, you're in the top 10, then you kind of drop to the top 15.
Because it's not just, they're not just scoring you, like they're also scoring this whole other animal. So it's
correct.
Your performance and this whole other animal's performance have to come together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, you get into.
That's why I chose team roping, for the record.
You get into,
I chose barrel racing.
She's like, I have nothing else.
There's no judging on that. It's a time. You know, barrel racing is probably the purest of the events because there is no human error. The judge can't hold the flag just a hair, you know,
right?
Things like that. But, you know, about September, I was probably 12th or 13th, and I was riding like crazy. And then I started having to enter everything and
trying to make it.
Yeah. And if I'd win third, guy below me'd win second. And if I'd win fifth, he'd win third. And pretty soon I was looking up and I was 16th in the world. And the year was over. You know, you miss it by $1,200, $1,300, and you have so many regrets. You're like, God, if I'd have just not turned that bull out in Dodge City, or, you know, something like that. Or if I'd have went to a couple of those little rodeos, you know. So it taught me a little bit. And then at that age, you know, 2009, I'd have been, you know, 38 years old, and my desire was falling off a lot.
Yeah.
So I just kind of hit a few now and then. And then a friend of mine that I rodeoed with, Spud Whitman, in 2013, I'd been semi-retired. I hadn't gotten on anything for about a year. He had this deal called the Pro Rough Stock Series, and it was a great little event. It was bareback riding, saddle bronc riding, and bull riding, and it was televised, and they were getting all these top name horse riders, and they would bring in the juice for the horses because you had to, because them guys would beat down an average horse, you know. And the bull riders, of course, nobody was really going of the big name. There was a few guys that got in there, but they wasn't riding anything. And he said, "Hey, we're giving away a lot of money at these deals, you know, come ride. You know, you got a few left in you." I was like, "Yeah." And so I went to their events, and I think out of 10 events, I think I won 6 of them. And that was pretty nice. Going to one event a month, you know, winning $5,000 or whatever. And
not having to go to 15 rodeos that month. And
I didn't have a lot of expenses.
That's what your net profit was at the end of it anyways.
Picked up a little sponsor that paid my way to go to them. So I wasn't, you know, I mean, it was a free trip for me, and the bulls were just nice, you know. And confidence is so key in rodeo, and I knew I could go there and ride any bull that they had. And
so I have to know.
Pretty much did, but
I'm terrified of the bulls. Okay, I see all the videos and I'm like, oh, look at this bull on TikTok, and they're like petting it. It looks so sweet. I am mortified. Okay. I'm also mortified my roping steers, for the record. But like, how was that? Like, when you drew a bull and you watched the Lane Frost, you watched the 8 seconds, you know, like, how does that relate to real life? Like, for those of us who are team ropers who don't ever have any desire of ever riding a bull, but I am genuinely curious. Like, how does, like, that's your partner in that run or in that time.
At the fear?
Yeah. How do you do that?
If you want to be a bull rider, you can't have the fear. You got to go in there thinking you're the baddest cat on earth and that there's not a bull that can throw you off. And if you're trying to dodge the one scary one, or if you're like, man, I just hope I don't get that one with the big horns, that's the one you're going to end up drawing.
Yeah. Law of attraction.
I've seen it happen. Yeah.
Absolutely.
But no, I tell everybody in the schools that I've done, I mean, you can't come in here and kind of, you know, I think I sort of want to be a bull rider, because you're sort of going to want to ride, and then you're sort of going to want to get hurt. And matter of fact, that's why I kind of retired, was because I got to the point where I thought, third wouldn't be too bad if I could just get on that nice one, but I don't know if I want that really bad sucker, that I'm going to win first on. And I thought, man, that's
when
that's when you're done.
Takes the luster out of it.
You don't crave it anymore, and you don't crave that bad sucker. And that was part of my reputation of riding, was the guy that was not going to let go. And I wouldn't, I'd sacrifice the face to win the check. And there's a lot of guys that wouldn't do that. And I think that was key to my success.
Did you ever have any like super crazy injuries or accidents that have happened?
I was good at leading with my face. So after 20 years of riding bulls, I got a pretty smile now, thanks to a great dentist up in Lubbock, High Plains Periodontics.
Yeah.
Give them a shout.
Yeah.
They did my implants. I had that hockey grin going for a while. But I had a few injuries. The groin injury, I had some pretty severe tendon tearage in my wrist and elbow, and battled that most of my career. But most of mine had stitches about everywhere you can imagine. They were pretty superficial injuries. The groin cost me most of the year 97. Little things like that. Just.
When's the last time you rode a bull?
It would have been first weekend in February 2015. So I won the PRS World Championship at the finals that year, and retired the world champ there.
That's cool. That's really neat.
But yeah, it was good for me, and now I'm a dad, and I got a little almost 5-year-old boy now, and rodeo seems like a lifetime ago, and seems like a different person almost. I mean, everybody asks if he's going to be a bull rider, and I sure hope not.
That's the story how it always goes.
I love rodeo with all my heart, and riding bulls and everything, but I've also seen the downside, and that's kind of why we're here too. I want my boy to experience the wonderful things that rodeo gave me, the family, the connections, but man, the downside, I've seen that too, and I wouldn't wish that on anybody.
Yeah. Nicole, I think you're a good person to talk about the downside.
So the downside that I've seen of rodeo has been the mental health of some of the athletes and the path that it's led them through depression, through addiction.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel with Cowboys Helping Cowboys, those are some of the beneficiaries that we could help.
Yeah, not only just the physically injured athletes, but the ones that maybe mentally, or because your highs are highs and your lows are lows.
Yeah. So just when someone has cancer, they go to treatment, and the same thing with someone who has mental health, a way to find them treatment.
This topic that Nicole's brought up, she brought up to me, and I've actually been in discussions with Cody Custer. He's the 92 world champion bull rider, and attends almost every one of our events, and we've discussed it a lot, the depression issues and stuff, and we've spitballed a bunch of different ideas on how we can really help some people, because people don't understand that they're not alone. And right now, so many of my friends that are in this transition part of their life, going from being this famous bull rider or semi-famous, whatever you want to call it, to like me, that's an oil field worker. I'm no longer Super Dave. I'm Joe's dad. I'm this flag football coach, for his pre-K football team, but there's guys that struggle with that so bad, and the depression is out there. I mean, the divorce rate for guys right now, in this
transition,
give or take 50-year-old deal is is crazy. People that have been married 20 or 30 years, they retire from bull riding and then they're trying to figure out who they are.
Yeah. Well, that was your identity. That's all you know.
It comes with a price.
It is.
And so it's, mentally, physically,
Emotionally,
financially.
Yeah. And the relationships are struggling with it, and I don't want to just pick on the wives, but the wives are used to this lifestyle and the guy's gone and she just, maintains the household and then all of a sudden he comes home and you got to figure out how to
live together,
and they're not traveling and getting to do all this fun stuff. All of a sudden you're at home and it's like, what are we going to do now? Can't sit on the porch and drink coffee together. I mean, we don't get to go to these places anymore. And heck, even before I was married and divorced, I mean, I had them issues with few relationships. They wanted to live that lavish lifestyle, and being at home and having a week off and barbecuing, there was like, this is boring. I don't like this kind of stuff.
Yeah. You get addicted to that high. Like if you've ever rodeoed in, I think, any event, like that feeling of going down the alley or backing in the box or getting on the bull or any of those things, like that's its own adrenaline rush. That's its own high.
Well, and it's not just adrenaline too. It's all the endorphins that it triggers and stuff. And all these professional athletes that I've gotten to know over the years, like you see the documentary Kelsey about the football playing brothers.
Mm-hmm.
The one brother's trying to retire and they won the Super Bowl. And he goes, what am I going to do now? I don't want to be how am I going to be a world champion or the best dang potato grower there is, He's like, what can I be the best at?
Mm-hmm.
All his life, he's been trying to be the best at his career. And now people are saying, just be this
you.
guy.
Just be you. Well, what is me?
Yeah. What's my goal? What am I working towards?
Yeah.
Well, when you change your identity, I mean, I would have to say I was changing my identity when I very first met you
Mm-hmm.
in Vegas after I was at the Justice Crisis Fund Women of Rodeo Luncheon.
And you won that damn saddle.
I did. And that's when I took two friends of mine to Vegas with me that's never been to the NFR. And they know that I've been to the NFR
every year.
Yeah. We went with Tracy Human. She got us a table at the Justice Crisis Fund, and there was a raffle,
mm-hmm.
and I threw in, and so
I think you told me. I remember, was it South Point that I saw you were passing at hallways at South Point or something, right? And you were like, oh my gosh, hey, you're never going to guess. I just won this. I bought like one ticket. And I was like, shut up. Only Nicole does this crap. Like, I was like, oh my gosh.
Well,
but yeah.
So it was a moment of me stepping away. Like I was going to come back to my place in Lipan near Stephenville and sell it. I was like, I wasn't using this place.
You didn't have any horses at the time?
No horses. I've been full-time dedicated to the oil field.
Yeah.
That's about right. Win a saddle when you don't have a horse.
Yeah. That's exactly how it went.
So this is how it went down. And I said, the law of attraction. I said, if I win this saddle, I'll get back in. And I said it out loud. And Lane Frost, Kelly was right there, his wife, and she turned around and she said, you better keep that promise. And I was just like, this just turned into the most expensive saddle.
Yeah.
Right.
You guys, I don't even have like a horse anymore.
Yeah, I've sold the trailers. I've sold my truck. I've sold.
To be honest, I didn't win a saddle. I got a bunch of debt.
Yes, it turned. But what it gave me was the life that I was trying to walk away from.
Yeah.
Because I did have a bad taste in my mouth due to some of the mental illnesses and, just I seen associated with rodeo. And so it brought me back.
Yeah.
And so I started back slowly, with my saddle and, getting back into my barrel program that I am now. And it's been such a healing journey. to
Yeah, and you found
say-
baby cakes.
Yes, God has just placed every piece perfectly. That, the mare that, I ride and it's gave me that adrenaline rush that at, 44, I did not think I was going to be able to do, but I do live by, you always do what you're afraid to do.
Yeah.
And sometimes that is like today I was signing up for a bell race and I was like, I haven't got to run, but I was like, no, just my horse knows her job.
Yeah. Just do it.
Just do it. I was like, I don't need an expert.
I feel like that's something you're great at in general. And I mean, Dave might be able to vouch for you, but like you very much so are someone that says, if you think you can do it, you can do it. Like you are you have this idea, we're going to make it happen. That's you.
I fight it in my head. So there is
well, out loud, it's not bad.
It's a lot that goes in my head on when, I get an idea.
Yeah.
Because I fight that idea until I can't sleep anymore. And that was this Cowboys helping Cowboys and bringing awareness to mental health. I just couldn't sleep.
Yeah.
So, and I was like, how can I help? Because I felt like I was so blessed with how God has influenced my life through rodeo and, just even winning the saddle at the Justice Crisis Fund and the impact that it has had in my life over the time. So,
well, I think it's really neat because I think something is things are always evolving, and I think that right now, it is more common that people are talking about mental health and sobriety and those dark times. Before it was politics, you weren't allowed to talk about it,
yeah. Well, it's
shove it, put it to the side. And now here you are. And it's like, hey man, I felt that too. And it's like, what do you mean you felt that? Look at you, and it's a real thing.
That's a real true statement you made right there. I'm kind of one of them guys, I gotta get it off my chest.
I'm a talker too.
Yeah. To process it and everything. And even 2 years ago when I went through my divorce, I'd reach out to a few friends and they're like, oh man, me too, But
you had no idea before, right?
Yeah. I didn't know they were going through it. And, and I find out about this and I'm not going to lie. I've had battles with depression with that transition, and of course the divorce sure didn't help.
Of course.
If I wouldn't have had my little kid, my little boy, it probably wouldn't have bothered me near as much. But, having that little boy changes your life, and it's the greatest thing ever, but it sure made everything else a lot harder.
Yeah.
But, the guys that I've talked to and became friends with that are dealing with the exact same issues. I mean, it's the depression, the divorce, I got kids and a family and I can't see them, and all these issues is something that people just got to realize, man, you're not alone, and I thought, I'm just being kind of an old softy, or the testosterone's low and the estrogen's high or something, why am I
Something's
feeling
off.
why am I feeling this way? But so many guys are going through it, and
I don't think it matters the age either. I mean, there's guys starting off their career and maybe they have a really good first half of the year and the second half goes to crap. I mean, it's still something that to talk about, and then retiring and going to this transition of life, and mental health isn't just it doesn't just show up in one form. It shows up in so many different ways.
Yes. And there's support groups that I'm a part of, a support group called Finding Hope. And it has helped me with its loved ones of addiction and understanding, both my parents were addicts, and also, people that I care about are also addicts. So I had to find a support group to get me through my everyday, and someone that could just relate on my level and understand my level of what I was dealing with. And that support group got me through so many lows. And it was just because they could identify with me.
Yeah.
And every other week, I battle going to that support group. But when I walk out of that room, I'm so grateful that I went. But I do battle making the time and setting the time to go face,
what you don't want to face.
Yeah, what you
Nobody
don't wanna
wants to face this. Yeah.
And I feel like the Cowboy Society, the Rodeo Society also needs a support group that we can say, get together like other support groups generally, come together so they can relate if it's either at a team roping or a bell race.
It would be really neat. I mean, not to impose on y'all's thing, but it'd be really neat, like how you did the golf before the rodeo. Like if you had it where you timed up, because time is precious in rodeo, especially when you're trying to make that quota and hit that number for the year, right? Like that's what they're worried about, but they got to worry about themselves too.
Funny you bring that up. This year at the golf tournament, Cody and I, we had actually talked about trying to get a group of guys together.
Yeah.
Guys that we know that are going through the same thing that we've been through. And, just kind of trying to get them together and say, hey, look, guys, we've been there. And the problem with Cowboys is we try to uphold this, I'm iron proof, or, I'm bulletproof.
Especially the bull riders.
Right. But
oh no, team ropers are pretty bad.
Yeah. But we all think we got to be tough, and God dang, if we say something, they're going to make fun of us and this and that.
Yeah.
And we really got to get over that. Don't get me wrong, I'm a guy's guy, but I've learned a lot that, there's some things you can't do on your own. And
I read a quote.
We really need to get it out there.
I read a quote one time and it said, "You're only as good as you." And I was like, whoa. Like, how big do you want to be?
Right.
And you have to know your worth to get there.
Yeah.
And some people that are struggling with mental health, they don't know their worth.
Yeah.
And
it's a dark place.
Yeah, it's a dark place, but they have that gold buckle. And that does symbolize
something. They can do something.
Yeah. Something. So I do feel like, every day is building on your worth.
So we did mention that you guys have an event coming up in 2025 in February.
Yeah, our first event for the 2025 year will be February 14th. That's a Friday and Valentine's Day down in the stockyards of historic Fort Worth. We'll be holding what we call our charity ball.
Mm-hmm. What do you need to do to be able to attend that event?
Well,
we know I need to wear a bow tie. We got that.
Well, any kind of tie.
Yeah.
But no, tickets will go on sale October 1st through our website. And that has my contact on there. And of course, we can always use some sponsors and stuff. Well, it's a big catered dinner at Tana Hills down there. It's a new cool hopping place. And last year it was just an amazing event.
Do you guys do like dinner, live music?
Yeah, we'll have some great food. We'll have silent and live auctions. Then we bring in a band and hopefully everybody stays and dances and makes it home safely. But what it's really about. One of the guys that used to rodeo and is now in Yellowstone, Forey J. Smith, he got involved with us a few years ago, and he came back last year, and he did a welcome and everything, and everybody wants to get their picture taken with the Yellowstone guy,
of course.
And Forey's he loves it. He's a great ambassador of the sport. But he before the event, he contacted me. He said, "Hey, I want to go grab a hat." He said, "I seen some of the guys that was there last year." He said, "Let's get all the NFR guys to sign this hat, and then maybe we can auction it off next year." And I actually, because I was co-host, I didn't have time to get around, and I gave it to Clint Corey, who's been to the NFR like 200 times. 14, I think, or 18, I think. I think it's 18, but great guy. Well, of course, he knew everybody, and we ran out of room on the hat.
That's cool.
I mean, we had everyone from the current, world champion team ropers. Tyler Wade was there, and all the way up to Bruce Ford, who was a 5 or 6-time world champion bareback rider, you know, back in the 70s. I mean, the Sandy Kirbys and the Donnie Gays and you can't imagine. You're never going to see more legends of the sport at another event, I don't think.
No, I agree. I think like no matter if you're retired or not, you're going back, or you know, even if you're not retired, like I feel like the rodeo support, like the me's, the yous, Nicole, like we've never been professional athletes, but we're there and we're supporting. Like I think it's really neat.
Totally.
Well, and we got to get some of the younger guys involved. And I tell these younger guys all the time, I said, hey, you need to come support this deal. Because it could be you that we're helping next year.
Yeah.
And one of the guys that used to come play in our golf tournament all the time was Eric Swinson. He's an NFR bareback rider. And sure enough, he a few years ago, he was diagnosed with colon cancer. And Eric wasn't a big name guy that had all the GoFundMe's with 100,000 in it. And, man, he was just a cowboy, and we selected him and we helped him out, and he never misses an event now. You know, he comes back, he goes, I know what y'all did for me.
Yeah.
He goes, I'll never miss an event again. Yeah. You know, and the same game goes with Cody Ohl. We had a little criticism. I had a guy called me and said, hey, Cody Ohl, he's won, you know, $7 million or whatever. And I said, so that's what he won. I said, he's also been divorced twice. So you take first divorce, that knocks it down to 3.5.
But still, I mean, outside of that, like people don't understand how much it takes to go down the road.
Well, and that's where I was going with this, you know, and I'm not blaming the divorces on everything, but you know, that's your career earnings. And I asked this guy, I said, well, how much do you make? You know, and he's like, oh, I make 100,000 a year. I said, how long have you been doing that? You know, 10 years? Oh, well, you must have $1 million. And he said, no. I said, exactly. Yeah. I said, I don't care if Cody does have, you know, money in the bank. If he needed us, and I mean, the guy was he went septis, you know, I mean, right. I seen a deal on TV and I can't remember the numbers, but sepsis right now is killing hundreds of thousands of people. Yeah. And I don't know if we're just more aware of it, or all of a sudden there's more infections in these hospitals, or what's going on. But I mean, Cody had to learn how to walk again. I mean, his whole body shut down. Yeah. And the first event that he came to, he was there with a cane. He was just starting to be able to walk. And not only did he talk about having to learn how to walk again and the struggles that he had, he also got sober. And he talked about that. He talked about almost losing his kids over that. And the fight that he had to go through. And it was very heartfelt to come from this multi-time world champion calf roper, you know, big tough cowboy. Stood on stage, cried.
With a cane.
Yeah.
Barely could get up there. Yeah.
And said, you know, I can't believe that I had to have help. You know, so I mean his mental battle was terrible, you know, and you know, the alcohol and the addiction.
Everyone can put a front on, that's for sure.
Oh yeah.
Oh, 100%.
But I mean, and it was tough. It took so much strength for him to get up there in front of 400 people at the event and tell a story that, like, hey, I needed help.
Yeah.
I needed help, you know, and, you know, he supports the event, and Cody's I've always said he was a bull rider in a calf roper's body. I mean,
description.
You know, I love the guy, and I was honored to help him, and I had one of my board members tell me the other day, he said, hey, I think we need to make a rule that these people that we help, they have to come back to the event.
Yeah.
And I said, no chance. No. I said, I don't do this with conditions.
Yeah. Or intentions or anything. Like
this is not a corporate foundation.
This is an unconditional love. Like you don't have to do anything to feel loved by this.
Right. Yeah. Right. Yeah. We're not going to say, you know, hey,
because your net worth is this, or that or whatever it is. It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Well, and this goes back to earlier what we was talking about, why I decided to start Cowboys Helping Cowboys and give the funds out the way we do. Another organization had told a friend of mine that broke his neck, well, you got 30 head of roping cattle, you sell them, and then if you still need help, we'll help you. And I said, that would be like telling a carpenter, well, if you sell your hammer and then you need help, and then we'll come in and help you. Well, what? Now he doesn't have a hammer. How's he going to make a living? So I don't want to know their bank accounts. I don't know what they got in the bank. I don't.
You're not doing it for that. You're doing it to help.
Yeah, and you know what? If the guy's got that, he's got feed bills.
Yeah.
There's
been a lot of times on a very small scale here in West Texas that I've had the opportunity to just set up an account at a local feed store for a family who is going through something. And it's like that little bit just takes so much off in the scheme of things when things are happening. And, and looking at it, it's like, I've had people that are like, well, they were going to have to feed their horses before, or during, or whatever, like because of this event. But that's not what it's about.
Yeah.
It's how can you help in that moment for what that person needs.
Right.
Well, it's like when someone goes into treatment they go into a treatment for addiction. Their bills don't stop. They need to get healthy.
How do they get healthy if they're worried about their bills, right?
Absolutely. So, it is something, to take all the pressure off so you can heal and get healthy. And that's more of like, we're there to aid them while they're trying to get healthy and fight for their lives. Because at the end of the day, health is wealth.
Yes.
Right. For sure. And with your podcast here, being a West Texas based kind of event here, whatever, like it's kind of funny. We have a lot of our events in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, but a lot of our support actually comes from out here, in West Texas, the Midland. A lot of rodeo guys are going to work for oil field companies, and I don't know if it's our gift to gab or
life outside of the rodeo
or our work ethics,
I know, I've enjoyed it.
Or we can't survive on,
got to be addicted to something.
$10 an hour flipping burgers, but
your highs are highs and your lows are lows. Come on, go get to the oil field.
Right. Just go to the oil field. But no, like it's funny. Most of our events, the majority is an ag related. One half of it's ag related, and the other half is pretty much oil field related.
Yeah, communities.
And it's funny how much they transition, and people do a lot of business on the golf course. Do a lot of business. So
I thought
think about that, sponsors.
Yeah, I thought that that was really special for like War Pony, right? Is I have background in oil and gas also, but then I also rodeo, and I'm a talker. I have no problem talking to people. And I'd be at these rope-ins, right? And I'm like, hey, what are you doing? Oh, I have hydrovacs or whatever, right? And then I'm going to call my buddies before I call some Googled hydrovac company and stuff like that, because my buddies are the ones that are roping with me, my roping partner, and I'd rather feed his family than, I'm not saying it doesn't help other families, but you can keep it in your community. And I feel like West Texas has such a strong, not only in the arena, but outside the arena community, that if we could bring it in, it's going to be neat.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. When you dial that in, it makes such a huge difference, because I came out here as the crane lady, and I blew up with cranes mainly because of who I was associated with rodeo and how I was like affiliated. So it does work hand in hand when you're at a team roping and someone's phone can ring and you can be sitting there and you can overhear like, oh, I need this compressor lifted, or I need it tracked. And you're like, hey, I can help you out.
Yeah.
Right place at the right. West Texas is all about being at the right place at the right time.
West Texas is a place for opportunities, in my opinion. You come here for opportunities. You got to think, you got Patrick, you got Trevor, you got Turtle Pal, you got all these people, right? That
Patrick's been to our event.
Yeah, they come to the oil field afterwards. I don't want to necessarily say it's like oil field goes hand in hand with rodeo, but West Texas is special for that reason, how it ties back to rodeo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you said, you was talking about Hydrovac. I mean, Fort Warriors Hydrovac was our presenting sponsor for 4 years. They were very heavily involved with us.
And they all pretty much have ties back into the equine industry for sure.
Yeah.
Yes.
And they're also a family owned company. That's another really cool thing about you get down here. And, that's the other part of it is I don't want to just showcase oil and gas. I want to showcase mom and pop oil and gas companies that can all stand together and help one another and family driven and, not these corporate, not anything against corporate. Corporate makes a lot of jobs for a lot of people, but.
Well, I come from corporate oil field. I did offshore sales in Houston and Dallas. And I never did think I would end up in West Texas. I thought I would be traveling between Dallas and Houston and sell offshore. And then concrete jungle offshore shut down. So I was like, well, I guess I have to go to West Texas. And I started all over again.
Yeah. I think West Texas is pretty cool people. Might be a little partial. I'm not from here, for the record.
Yeah.
I'm not from here, but it is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Well, talking about the community and the business at our fundraisers, like Fort Warriors brought in a Ford dealership, Barbara Dyson Ford from Elk City, Oklahoma, that they were very close with, that they did their business with, and they became one of our sponsors. And so me and my ex-father-in-law, we've all bought like 5 or 6 trucks from them right now. And the service is great. And I call them and I'm like, hey, I need a truck, and they deliver it down to the house.
Yeah.
I signed 15 pieces of paper and.
But you made that connection through here. Like, it's cool.
Yeah,
it's cool how it all comes.
Anybody wants a truck, that's where I send them.
Yeah.
I know I've sent 3 or 4 people up there.
Yeah. It's neat how it all comes.
But same deal with our apparel guy in Syntex. Syntex Branded Solutions is what they call it now. A kid from Stephenville took over his grandfather's company there in Fort Worth, and they became a sponsor, and we order all of our merch. And now a bunch of my sponsors are ordering from him. And he told me, he goes, we did like 5% advertising for our yearly budget with you. And we've probably got, 500% return on it, and it's because the guys are involved, like they're loyal. They're like, hey, if we're going to order hats, let's go from them. They're involved in the same company we're from. So, that's so many sponsors are like, well, what could I get for this? That's a lot of money to put up a sign or, this and that. And I'm like, you don't get it, guys, like that.
It's not for the sign,
Yeah. And if you're doing it for what's in it for me, then I tell people all the time, maybe this ain't a place for you.
Yeah. Maybe not a fit.
Yeah.
It's about being a blessing. To have the opportunity to sponsor is also a blessing, but the bigger picture is just to be a blessing.
Well, in a prime example, Fort Warriors had 1 more year on our verbal agreement of how many years they was going to be our sponsor. Earlier this year, with all the fires in the Panhandle, Mitch called and he said, hey, I don't know how to tell you this, but I think I'm going to have to back out on my sponsorship because I want to put money into the Panhandle relief. I said, not a problem. I get it. Like all your home and your ranch and stuff, that's all in there. And it's all, all your friends from up there are being affected.
Yeah. And that definitely wasn't expected by anybody.
Yeah. And, I'd be an idiot if I said, no, we had a contract,
That's not what you stand for.
It's your money, do it, please help somebody, we'll figure it out, and we were still able to host our event without him, obviously we would have loved to have the money, but I think those people needed it, at the time worse than we did.
That's what your whole foundation is how to help someone in need when they need it.
Exactly. So we are seeking a new presenting sponsor, if anybody knows. But
so we've been kind of talking about West Texas. So I like to kind of end all my podcasts with the question is, why is West Texas special to you?
West Texas is special to me because that's where my little boy is. So it is about family and everything. And I like the old Mac Davis song, I like to see Lubbock in my rearview mirror sometimes, but, that's where my boy is, and so that's where my home is, and that's where I'll be as long as he's here.
Yeah.
So West Texas has become my second home, and I'm very grateful for the DePrises, like where we're at. They're family to me. I've met a lot of great memories, and the sunsets every day
Yeah.
are unbelievable. It's a beautiful picture that God's painted for us out here.
Definitely makes up for the wind that blows all the time.
I was gonna say, except for when you can't see the sun setting because of the dust. But
When the dust settles.
Yeah, it's pretty.
right,
Yes.
for sure.
Well, I really appreciate you guys coming on here and like spreading some awareness about mental health in not only Cowboys, but just if you're not a Cowboy and you're just listening to this, just in general, you know, as you're not alone and reach out and everything else. And I think it's really neat. And then being able to attend this event coming up, you know, and if you guys are looking for sponsorship opportunities or you want to be a sponsor, you know, there's definitely room for those. So
absolutely reach out and you know, it's called Cowboys Helping Cowboys, but you don't have to be a cowboy.
yeah,
You know, you can be a cowboy and never set foot on a ranch. You
That's
know,
right.
it's more of a
it's a lifestyle
mindset and a lifestyle. You know, cowboys there to help out his neighbor, you know, and stuff like that. And like I said, it's old family values. And when you come to our events, you see that. You see the guys tipping their hats and the values, and it's what we all grew up wanting to be.
Yeah.
And it's pretty special. It's pretty special.
No, that's
Very
neat.
special.
So real quick, just to recap, if people want to find you guys on social media websites, go ahead and give that spill again.
Yeah, it's cowboyshelpingcowboys.com, Facebook, Cowboys Helping Cowboys, Cowboys Helping Cowboys charity events. They're all pretty much held in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. We do have some events being held elsewhere, but we are nationwide, and we're here to help.
Yeah, perfect. So, well, thank you guys.
You bet.
All right.
Thank you for having us.
All right, guys. Well, stay tuned. Thank you for listening to the War Pony podcast. If you have a story to tell or want to be a sponsored ad on our podcast, you can always contact us at Cassidy@warpony.co. That is CASSIDY @warpony.co. Or you can always find us on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok @warponyco.